All right, guys. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the pre-market session for today. Today is Friday, so happy Friday to everybody. Nice football game last night. Nice tennis match last night too. So, if you listen to my play on football last night, I got that to work. I didn't think Detroit was going to win outright, but the teaser that I mentioned worked, which was taking Detroit and the under. Which worked quite nicely. Remember, with that type of a bet, you have to win both bets, but you get points for each side. So that's a nice way to start the NFL season. So let's get to the price action this morning and to some things to watch, because I definitely have some names that I'm watching this morning. So let me hit the international markets really quick. Hang Seng, again, you hear more about China. There's a story about chips and how they got where's the story that I've got for this morning? You got more Apple headlines. U.S. probes, here it is. U.S. probes made in China chip as tensions flare over technology. So this kind of stuff just continues. It seems like every day this week we've heard some type of a story back and forth about this, and I think even Apple is up a little bit this morning. But do I have? There was a Carter Worth put out a nice tweet about how Apple has been underperforming. I don't think I have this up here, but let me see if I do. Let's see. Do I have an Apple? I guess I don't. But yeah, I could set this up for you really quick so that you could see what this looks like too. So this is Apple, and we'll do Apple Qs, Apple long versus Q short, Apple Qs. See, I could do this pretty quickly on the fly. So let's create this. There we go. Again, I'm surprised I don't have this CIX in there, but yeah, he's got a point. Here's Apple, a 5-year chart of Apple, and it does look a little toppy. Right now the price action is on the wrong side of the moving averages. Again, this is you're looking at Apple in the numerator and Qs in the denominator. And yeah, I mean, it's kind of gone sideways, but it's leaning to the downside. So either this, and I don't know if you can really make the conclusion yet. Either this is going to be a buying opportunity, and this will shake out in the next couple of weeks to months. Really, when I'm looking at a 5-year chart like this, you can't just say day to day. But you've got a support level, and your resistance level's up here. Now you could probably draw some type of a trend line like that, but if it breaks, right, then you know that there's better places to be than Apple. If you're in comparing it versus a major index that it's in, which is the Qs. All right. So I think that's interesting. Like, I really haven't been playing Apple too much. I just think that there's better opportunities. Even though I get it, like, Apple's one of the most liquid names out there. It's easy to trade, weekly options and that type of thing. But so that's one story that you got this morning. Looking at and by the way, the Nikkei was down. Since I talked about how it had strung together, like, I think it was like 8 days of gains. It's now been decisively down 2 days in a row. So I jinxed Japan. Uh, European markets are essentially flat this morning. A couple of them down, a couple of most of them just up, but just fractionally. Let's head over to commodities, because I think you've got a couple interesting things to watch here. I'm starting with the crude 5-minute chart. So crude is up about 0.5% for the day, but it hasn't taken out the week's highs. Remember, this was the big ramp up on the well, UPS raising prices. And this matches FedEx. So we'll throw this channel in here. And in the news channel. All right, there you go. So that's on the tape. Let me go back to crude. Yeah, so it hasn't this was the big move on the Saudi news, And so again, it looks good to me, but it's consolidating a little bit. Also note for crude, right after this nice advance, you could see that you could begin to kind of look at now today's Friday, so you could begin to look at what the valuary is going to tell you for next week, right? And really, if you're looking to play crude for continuations of the long side, which I don't blame you doing because we're now inside the valuary for the year, I would watch 87.71. And basically right around the highs of this week. Right. Again, here's what I'm referring to in case you don't know this chart that even though I've posted it every day for like the last 3 weeks, but crude has made it into the value area, and that's a second green bar that's going to be inside. And I remain more weighted energy names while that's taking place. Overweight, I should say. Nat gas this morning trying to rebound a bit, up 1.7%. It's off the highs of the morning because it was up about 3% earlier. Copper continues to be in like nowheresville, inside value. So I'm going to keep going here because I've got other things to talk about. Gold, not much of a mover. Silver is flat for the session, and we'll go over to bonds, which are catching a little bit of a bounce, but man, they're having a tough time. So listen, this is one of the things. If you go back to, I think it was last Thursday's pre-market session, I talked about how this could play out this month, right? And I talked about how one of the possible scenarios, but I got this one right. I said, hey, this could come down to the new bottom of the September value area, and then we can kind of see if we can make a higher low. So we're on to that second point and seeing if we can hang on to this, right? And of course, that has caused some volatility, as we just was waiting for something in September because it's such a seasonal weak month to cause the volatility. But let's see if it can kind of hang in here and begin to kind of carve out a bottom right at the bottom of value, right? TLT has not been able to do that. But TLT, could get back inside value, but for now it's sitting there below the value area. And then finally the dollar, not finally, but the dollar this morning is not doing much, but yeah, I mean it's continuing to kind of grind higher and stay above the 5-period moving average. Finally, Bitcoin, I made a big thing about Bitcoin and how I don't want to trade any of the crypto miners. And they all did pretty well. I completely, sometimes when I get negative like that and say I don't want to participate in something, Coin and all of the other names had a big day yesterday. Again, it doesn't really make sense to me, so I stay out of it. I don't get why some of these names are moving this much, other than some legal decision or something like that. And I think Mara is down this morning. I don't know what the story is, because it's just kind of off my radar. But that name is moving back outside the value area. So again, what did I say yesterday? When you get these bounces in these things, so this one I stand, or I stick to this, is that when these things bounce and you have a nice day in them, sell them. Because I don't see any major reason to be hanging on to these things looking for a bigger move until Bitcoin or Ethereum really starts to go. That's my opinion. And again, I give you my opinions every morning. So we've got S&P futures, which were down, about a couple hours ago this morning, down 20 or 30 basis points. This is for now a position of weakness because we're sitting here below the value area, and we've got basically mixed pictures going on in a lot of the indices. Allow me to elaborate with that. Why is it a mixed picture? Because the daily chart, you're firing off a bearish 80% rule here, because we've broken into the value area. And the 80% rule means that we could see it, and there's an 80% chance that we travel all the way through the value area. Where that would be negated is if we get back above 375.29. So that's more of a bearish take. On the flip side, if and this is why I do look at multiple time frames, because that maybe will give you a different picture and show you a different level of support. And right now, this bottom of value, and it's just the value area for the week. There's one more day, but you can begin to kind of cheat and look at what the value area for next week is going to look like. And the bottom of value is probably going to be right around this the week's low. So, if you're looking for a short, right? To take advantage of that move to the bottom of value on the daily, I would wait for a break of the 1 hour value area. All right. And for now, you could also play this for a bounce candidate. But yeah, it's a mixed picture. And I think the best thing to do is to be nimble and adjust to how what the market is telling you. I wanted to get to a couple stock stories this morning. I thought this was really interesting. I heard this on Bloomberg Radio. I can't find the full note of what they were saying on Bloomberg Radio this morning, but First Solar had their first like investor day in 5 years, is what Bloomberg Radio said. And they said that their order book is completely full. So this has not been a great stock to trade. I've been staying away from the solar names, but I thought this was kind of interesting, and it did get a double upgrade. Now, this thing has been really, really sideways, but maybe you can kind of pick here at the bottom of the range if you really like this. But I would say, make sure you're patient if you're thinking about a swing trade for this. But I thought it was interesting. I think that this chart is too loose. Like, it's needs to be tighter. And I think this array chart looks better, even though they didn't have an analyst day or anything. But, I'm starting to kind of look at the space, even because, crude going higher and so forth. Sometimes that does get the solar group and alternative energy group going. So that's the one area that I'm looking at this morning. Sticking with energy, CCJ, I think, is really interesting if you're looking for a derivative play on energy, because look at the value area for the week. Right, it's been in consolidation for the last 2 weeks. I'm including this week and last week. Watch for a break above that 37.20. This has been in the TTG trend portfolio, and it's acted really well. I think I'm up like 25% since I put CCJ in the TTG trend portfolio. So that's one name that's worked and I've hung on to. And I've also been in the I've got exposure to this. This is the uranium. One of the uranium miners ETFs, and this has been acting really well too, consolidating around here. So that's another play. And then I wanted to I'm running out of time here, but I wanted to talk about this chart, which I posted in the room the other day. This is IG. So we talked about Apple showing relative weakness, right? And on the underside of the moving averages, IGV software versus the Qs is actually showing relative strength, right? I know that there's so many of these software companies, but there's some news on Snow this morning. That's one software company. It's not my favorite name in the group, but I would watch 159.21 for a break above there, and there's a VPOC up there. That name got an upgrade. IoT, which I really didn't talk about too much, which had a real nice earnings report. I didn't want to chase this thing up here, but notice how it's just sitting in here. And I have an alert for the day right around the top of value. So again, that's a name that like FinTwit really likes, Twitter really likes. I've had some success with this name, but I just feel like it hasn't been easy. Since it reported that last earnings report, it just went sideways, after the initial reaction. What else do I have on the list? Monday's another one too that I haven't really gone back to too much, but this is kind of nice and been going sideways. So I've got an alert on at 176.48, and I put this. I should really have these in yellow. I don't know why I don't this morning. Any other questions? Any other chart requests? But that's kind of what I'm looking at for this morning. I've got 3 new names to watch, and I'll be watching a couple other names this morning. Good luck, guys. Have a great day, and I'll see you in Slack.